The lights in the studio had never felt hotter. The atmosphere, thick, charged, almost suffocating. Like a storm was waiting just outside the frame. The View was no stranger to drama, but what unfolded that Tuesday morning would redefine the limits of live television forever. Denzel Washington walked onto the set with the kind of quiet power only a man who's lived 100 lives on screen can possess. His tailored navy suit hugged his frame, his steps deliberate, calm. The audience erupted into applause, some standing, others already reaching for their phones, recording, tweeting, sensing something big. But nobody, not even the producers, knew just how big. Joy Behar sat perched in her seat like a queen on a throne, sharpened by decades of broadcasting. She didn't blink as Denzel took his seat across from her. There was something in her smile, not even respect. It was strategic. She had a plan, and Denzel, he could feel it. Instinct, vibe, energy, whatever you call it. He felt the air shift the moment he sat down. "Denzel, welcome to The View," Joy purred, every syllable dipped in artificial honey. "Interesting timing for your visit, especially considering some of the, let's say, controversial choices you've made lately." The room turned colder. The smile on Denzel's face flickered for a split second. Replied with grace and poise, "I'm not sure I follow. What choices are we talking about?" Joy leaned back slowly, folding her hands in her lap like she was about to deliver a sermon. "Well, let's start with your comments on faith, on family values. There are people saying, you sound outdated, that your worldview doesn't reflect modern America." A slow, stunned silence crept over the audience. Denzel's brow furrowed, but he didn't flinch. "I've always spoken from the heart. My faith and belief in strong family values have grounded me in an unpredictable world. That doesn't make me out of touch, makes me human." But Joy wasn't done. Not even close. "Don't you think," she said, tilting her head like a cobra preparing to strike, "that your platform comes with a responsibility to evolve, to stop promoting ideals that marginalize others?" The co-hosts fidgeted. Even Whoopi, usually quick to interject, was silent. Something about this felt different. It wasn't a discussion. It was an ambush. Denzel glanced toward his publicist off-camera, who instinctively took a step forward. But he held up his hand. "Don't." He was going to handle this himself. "There's a fundamental misunderstanding here," Denzel said evenly. "Believing in something bigger than myself doesn't mean I'm condemning others. It means I've found something that gives my life purpose. I've never told anyone else how to live. I just speak my truth." Joy scoffed. The sound echoed, like nails across a chalkboard. "Principles. Is that what we're calling it now?" she sneered. "Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're using your fame to shove a moral agenda down America's throat." A gasp rippled through the audience. Denzel's hands, previously relaxed on the chair arms, now curled into the fabric. "Joy, I came here to talk about storytelling." "Please," Joy cut in, voice sharp. "I'm just holding you accountable. You say things that hurt people, Denzel. People who look up to you. Don't you think that matters?" "You're twisting my words," Denzel said firmly. "Those quotes you're referencing, they were about my journey, not a rule book for how others should live. I have your exact quotes here, from 3 different interviews. Would you like me to read them?" The camera zoomed in. It wasn't just a debate. This was a takedown. A planned surgical dissection of a man who had shown up expecting a conversation, and was instead facing a firing squad. Denzel's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the room. "Joy." These words, they came from a place of survival, a place of pain. They were never meant to hurt. They were meant to heal. You've turned them into ammunition. "Words have consequences," Joy snapped. "Especially when they come from someone with your reach." "I've spent my whole life trying to lift people up," Denzel shot back, "not tear them down. That's never been my mission. But can you say the same?" And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Joy blinked, but her armor clicked back into place just as fast. "Don't you dare flip this. You're not the victim here." "Hurt people," Denzel's voice rose, his calm unraveling. "You're hurting people right now, Joy. You're twisting faith into hate. You're turning a man's beliefs into a weapon against him." On live television, the co-hosts were statues. The audience, silent. You could hear someone's water bottle hit the floor 2 rows back. Joy leaned forward, the predator now on the hunt. You call this good faith. Sitting here, clinging to values that hurt communities, then acting shocked when people call you out on it. That was the moment Denzel stood up, and it changed everything. He didn't raise his voice, didn't clench his fists. He simply stood, and the air shifted. 6 feet of presence, of lived experience, of legacy. Narrow-minded, he repeated her words, softly but with steel. You don't know the first thing about my mind or my heart. You've judged me in 10 minutes on national television more harshly than most critics have in 40 years. Oh, so now you're intimidating me, Joy mocked. Typical. Can't take the heat from a strong woman. Asking tough questions, so you resort to, what, looming over me? Denzel's eyes widened in disbelief. Intimidating you. I stood up because I refused to be disrespected while sitting down. If you're going to accuse me, at least do it while I'm standing. Joy's voice turned ice cold. Or maybe it's all that church talk you love so much. Did they teach you how to silence women there too? The moment fractured. Stop, Denzel said, a single word that rang like a gavel. Attack my views. Fine, but mock my faith. No, you will not twist this into something it's not. Joy's face lit up like a match. Oh, please, you're proving my point. You're emotional, you're defensive, because you know I'm right. You hide behind faith because you can't handle change. You think faith is outdated, Denzel thundered. You think believing in something beyond money, beyond power, beyond you is a weakness? Silence was a scream. You want to talk outdated? He continued, stepping closer not in threat, but in truth. What's outdated is using your platform to divide. What's outdated is mocking people's beliefs because it's good for ratings. What's outdated, Joy, is you. The show's producer was off stage, frantically gesturing to wrap, to cut to commercial. To do something, but no one dared move. The audience was frozen. The moment too real to look away. Oh, please, Joy barked, her words now laced with desperation. Spare us the monologue. You've played the same character your whole career. The noble man, the saint, but this is the real you. Denzel stepped fully into frame. Every camera trained on him now. You want to talk about roles? Fire. I've played soldiers, slaves, kings, addicts, fathers. Each one meant something. Each one had depth. He paused. The cynic. The silence that follows Joy's accusation is deafening. The audience isn't sure if they should gasp or clap, but the pause Denzel's pause is pregnant with something electric. He leans forward, fingers laced together, elbows resting. Calmly on his knees. You know what's funny about this conversation, Joy? His voice is smooth, but there's iron beneath the velvet. You're not really asking questions, you're throwing darts. Joy chuckles tightly, brushing imaginary lint off her sleeve. Oh, come on, Denzel. Don't get sensitive now. It's just a little probing. You're used to that, aren't you? The word sensitive hits like a slap in the face. He doesn't flinch. I'm not sensitive, he says. Measured. I'm precise. There's a difference. Whoopi shifts in her seat, sensing the storm. Maybe we can redirect, but Joy cuts in. No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how certain celebrities think they're above being questioned. Denzel's eyes don't waver. Or maybe, he says, some hosts are too comfortable disguising disrespect as curiosity. The studio falls into a stunned hush. Sarah N. glances off camera, signaling for the producer. There's panic behind the glass, but no one dares. Cut to commercial. This is no longer an interview. It's a reckoning. Joy leans back now, folding her arms. Okay, let's go there. You've been critical, some might say condescending, about younger actors, about how they carry themselves, about their social media use, their activism. Why do you get to be the moral compass? Denzel leans back to, mirroring her. Calm, collected. Dangerous. I never said I was the compass. I said I've lived long enough to know when someone's headed off a cliff, and if I shout about it, maybe it's not ego, maybe it's love. The crowd lets out an audible MAT applause, but that collective response, that signals truth, has just been spoken. Joy is undeterred. Is it love, though, or is it control? A fear that the industry isn't what it used to be, that maybe it's not about you anymore. Denzel tilts his head. It was never about me, he says. But you're making this about me? When what we should be talking about is how youthists show this platform uses influence. When did your mission shift from elevation to provocation? Now that hits. Whoopi steps in again, voice low. Let's not pretend like this is one-sided. Joy's asking tough questions. Yeah, but that's what we do here, and I respect that, Denzel nods. But there's a line between accountability and ambush. I walked in here thinking we'd have a conversation. Instead, I walked into a courtroom. Joy scoffs. You think this is hostile? You've been in bigger fires than this. Yes, Denzel says, but in those fires, at least I knew who the enemy was. The air is sucked from the room, cameras are zooming. Audience members shift uncomfortably. One woman near the front puts a hand over her mouth. Joy's face hardens. You calling me your enemy, Denzel? I'm saying I expected a dialogue. This feels like a setup. The producer is now pacing behind the cameras. Notes are flying, interns whispering into earpieces. But the hosts, they're frozen in this slow-motion car crash. And no one's hitting the brakes. Anna Navarro, quiet until now, clears her throat. Can we just take a breath? Maybe revisit what we wanted to talk about today, Denzel's new mentorship program. The work he's doing with inner-city schools, but Denzel holds up a hand. No, let's not pivot. Let's stay right here, because this right here is the problem. He gestures around the table. This table used to be about giving people a voice. Now it feels like it's about cutting them off. The knees, if they don't fit your narrative. Joy isn't blinking. You're angry. No, I'm disappointed. Another pause. That word cuts deeper. I grew up watching this show, he continues. You, Barbara Starr, Meredith Yall, didn't always agree, but there was respect. You challenged ideas, not identities. What happened? Joy fires back. We evolved. The world evolved. Maybe you're just not keeping up. Or maybe evolution doesn't have to mean abandoning decency. Denzel replies. There's a way to ask tough questions without framing people as villains. The tension is unbearable now. A single cough in the back of the audience echoes like a gunshot. Then Joy says, it's soft, but lethal. So you think I'm a villain? Denzel doesn't flinch. I think you've forgotten how much power you have when you speak, and I think you've started using that power to provoke instead of enlighten, and that's dangerous. Joy opens her mouth but for the first time today. No words come. There's a beat and another. Then the audience claps. Not a raucous applause, not performative. It's slow, measured, earned. People aren't reacting to drama. They're reacting to truth. The claps grow louder. Whoopi exhales deeply. We need a break, she says finally. The red light on the camera blinks off commercial. But the drama, it doesn't pause. Backstage, Denzel steps off the set. A makeup assistant hovers nearby, but he waves her off. Joy follows a few moments later. The hallway is narrow, fluorescent lit, and heavy with things unsaid. You wanted to make a point? Joy says, her voice taut. I wanted a conversation. You made it a confrontation. You knew who I was before you walked in. I did. He nods. I just didn't know you'd changed this much. That stops her cold. She crosses her arms again, more defensive than defiant now. People change, Denzel. He looks her in the eye. Then maybe it's time to ask whether the change made you stronger or just louder. He walks away, leaving her with that question echoing down the hallway. Later that afternoon, clips of the broadcast hit social media like wildfire. Hashtags trend within minutes. Hashtag Denzel vs The View. Hashtag Joy crossed the line. Hashtag respect the legend. People take sides. Some say Denzel overreacted. Others say Joy was out of line. But no one disagrees on one thing. This was no ordinary interview. It was a collision, and no one walked away unchanged.